まで行かなきゃつまんない。さあ教えて、秘めてる願いを鏡に投げたマイティーンライト。体ごと受け止めたら You're my flight。 驚かせて驚いて笑顔になろう。始まりでしょでしょ、綺麗が闇を照らすみたいに、私の力あなたの涙
All right, I think I'm live. I think I'm live, and the mic is good. Anyway, what am I doing? First, Merry Christmas. It's 1:20 a.m. here, but I'm wondering why the hell I'm doing this. But what am I doing first? Felt I was like, I don't know. I had this weird hot heat kick, and started reading the light novel again. Then come to think, you know what? I was actually thinking about reading this on stream. So that's what's gonna happen here. Gonna read at least try to read part through. No, I don't think I can read the whole thing, but part way through of the Melancholia Suzumiya Haruhi light novel, and to help me out here will be playing some of the soundtrack if I can find it again. Here on Spotify. Oh, they had a whole bunch. Where are they? Okay. Yeah, so I'll be reading it. I read it a long time ago. Haven't read it in a while. I won't be doing voice acting. I'll be acting like the character when I read it, but not no crazy voice acting going on here. All right. I think that brought it up. Okay. All right, so this is the English translation of The Melancholy Suzumiya Haruhi by Nagaru Tanigawa, or Tanigawa Nagaru. We're going to read it properly. Yeah, so we're going to start the prologue here, so you can read along with me if you feel the need. All right. I think volumes are good. All right, prologue. The question of how long someone believed in Santa Claus is a worthless topic that would never come up in idle conversation. Having said that, if you're going to ask me how much of my childhood I spent believing in an old man in a red suit, I can confidently say I never believed in him to begin with. I knew that the Santa at the preschool Christmas pageant was just a fake. Digging into my memories, I'm pretty sure that the other kids watching our principal dressed up as Santa didn't think he was real either. I was a precocious kid who didn't need to see mommy kissing Santa Claus to question the existence of an old man who only worked on Christmas. However, I wouldn't realize that aliens, time travelers, ghosts, demons, espers, and evil organizations, and the heroes that battled them in cartoons, monster movies, and comics were just made up until sometime later. No, I had probably already realized the truth. I just didn't want to admit it. Deep in my heart, I wished that aliens, time travelers, ghosts, demons, evil organizations, or espers just might pop up in front of me one day. Compared to the ordinary world I wake up in every morning, the worlds depicted in cartoons, monster movies, and comics have a certain charm to them. I wish I could have been born in one of those worlds. Saving a girl who's been kidnapped by aliens or imprisoned within a huge transparent pea shell, propelling a laser-wielding time traveler trying to change history armed only with my courage and my wits. Taking out evil spirits and demons with a single incantation. Engaging in psychic battles with espers from a secret organization. Those are the kind of things I want to do. Wait a minute. Assuming that aliens, etc., were actually going to attack, without having any particular special powers, I would have no way to do battle with them. So I did some brainstorming. A mysterious transfer student suddenly arrives in my class one day. That student turns out to actually be an alien or time traveler or something along those lines with unknown powers. Then the student happens to be fighting against some evil gang, and I just happen to get caught up in that fight. The other student is the main one doing the fighting. I'm just a sidekick. Huh? Hey, that sounds cool. Damn, I'm smart. Oh, how about this? I'll just go with suddenly waking up one day with special powers, telepathy or psychokinesis or the like. It turns out there are a bunch of other people with special powers. Naturally, there are organizations recruiting such people. Members of a heroic organization come to me, and I end up joining them in their battle against evil espers seeking world domination. However, reality is rather cruel. The fact is, no one ever transferred into my class. I've never seen a UFO. Going to all the local haunted spots yielded nothing in terms of ghosts and demons. Staring intently at the pencil on my desk for 2 hours didn't even move it a micron. I'd be more likely to burn a hole in the head of the guy in front of me than to read his mind. You have to admire how well the laws of physics were written while fighting the urge to laugh at yourself. At some point, I stopped being glued to the TV watching specials on UFOs and stories on psychics. They couldn't possibly exist, though I kind of wish they did. I figured my ability to hold on to my convictions while accepting reality was a sign that I'd matured. When I graduated from middle school, I also graduated from those childish dreams and became used to the normalcy of the world. If he's talking about middle school, he's probably talking about Chunimyo. Hold on. My voice is already rough. Good thing I got some water here. All right. 1999, that's when this story takes place, was my last hope, and it wasn't like anything was going to happen that year anyway. We reached the 21st century without mankind making it to the moon, beyond the moon. Beyond the moon. It looked unlikely that travel to Alpha Centauri and back within a day would happen in my lifetime. Unlikely. Having pushed some such thoughts to the corner of my mind, I entered high school without a care in the world. I'm going to read it when I read their names to be flipped. And met Suzumiya Haruhi. Chapter 1. My first regret, upon successfully cruising through admission to a local public high school, was that the school was situated atop a rather sizable hill. This meant I found myself trudging up a winding hill, dripping sweat when it was only spring, feeling like I'd already done enough hiking for a lifetime. The fact that I had to embark on this uphill trek every day for the next 3 years depressed me deeply. Though, if I stopped to think for a moment, lying in bed until the last possible second might be just the reason my legs were moving so quickly right then. Which meant that if I were to wake up 10 minutes earlier, I'd be able to take a more leisurely pace, and the hike wouldn't be such a pain. Of course, once I factored in how precious those last 10 minutes of sleep were, I realized that waking up earlier was simply out of the question. This meant that I would be required to continue the morning workout, which depressed me even more. And so for the duration of the school commencement ceremony held in the gratuitously large gymnasium, I, unlike the new students whose face shone with hope and anxiety and anticipation of life at a new school, merely looked gloomy. A huge number of people from my old middle school were there, and I'd been on pretty good terms with a few of them, so I wasn't too concerned about making friends. It seemed like an odd combination to have guys in blazers and girls in sailor uniforms. Maybe Principal Toupee up on the podium putting everyone to sleep with his droning sound waves happened to be a fan of sailor uniforms? While I was thinking about this trite, monotonous commencement, suddenly ended, and I shuffled into my assigned classroom, 1-5, with the rest of my classmates, whose faces I would be seeing for the upcoming year, whether I liked it or not. So, think about the class number. Generally, when students take tests and whatnot to get into a high school, they put the best students in in the top. Usually it's like 1A, 1B. Wonder why it says 1-5. Anyway, so usually the lower the number means better the class. Again, I usually use A, B, C. Wonder why it's a 5. Anyway, if it's a 5, you figure he's in the mid. He's a mid or protagonist, which has not been named yet. Anyway, okay. Okabe, our young homeroom teacher, took the podium with a $1,000,000 smile. He had probably spent an hour practicing in front of a mirror. He then proceeded to inform us that he was a gym teacher, and then he was a handball team's advisor, and that he played for a handball team back in college, which got pretty far in the tournament, and that the current school handball team was short on members, so we were practically guaranteed a spot as a starter upon joining. And there is no sport in this world as fun as handball. Apparently, having run out of things to say after that long-winded speech, he finished with, "Let's have everyone introduce themselves." Well, this was the same old way of kicking things off, and I expected as much. So it didn't exactly come as a surprise. Starting from the left side of the singing chart, alternately boy, girl, boy, girl, one by one, people stood up and gave their name, the middle school they went to, and an interesting fact, a hobby, favorite food, etc., about themselves. Some people just mumbled their way through it. Some people sounded completely relaxed. A few told bad jokes which killed any excitement in the room. And all the while, my turn gradually drew closer. Nerve-wracking. You know what I mean, right? Once I had managed to not stumble over the required autobiography I was practicing in my head, I sat back down in my seat, relishing that liberating feeling that you get after taking care of business. In turn, the person behind me stood up. Yes, I'll remember this moment for the rest of my life. And spoke the words people would be talking about for years to come. Suzumiya Haruhi from East Middle School. Everything was so normal at this point. Twisting around to look behind me, which would have been too much of a hassle, which is why I was facing forward as I listened to her energetic voice. I have no interest in ordinary humans. If there are any aliens, time travelers, sliders, or espers here, come join me. That is all. That made me turn around. I found a girl with long, straight black hair decorated with a flashy hairband, yellow, adorning her perfectly proportioned face as she stared back at the gawking students with unusually large, black, chewy brown, determined eyes adorned with long fringed eyelashes, her soft pink lips tightly pursed. I was dazzled by Haruhi's snow-white skin. A striking beauty stood before me. Haruhi let her gaze sweep across the classroom, looking like she was trying to pick a fight, before finally glaring at me, gaping at her with my jaw on the floor, then sat down without so much as cracking a smile. Is this some sort of joke? There's probably some big question marks in the minds of everyone in the room as they wondered how they were supposed to react. Are we supposed to laugh? In hindsight, it was neither joking nor a laughing matter. Haruhi, no matter where, is never joking. She is always dead serious. I learned this the hard way later on, so there's no doubt about it. Fairies of silence flittered around the classroom for 30 seconds before gym teacher Okabe hesitantly gestured to the next student, and the frozen atmosphere finally returned to normal. And so we met. I deeply hope that it was a mere coincidence. After capturing the hearts of everyone in the class in every way, Haruhi was relatively quiet for the next few days, playing the role of a seemingly harmless high school girl. I now understand very well just what people mean by the calm before a storm. Well, everyone who came to this particular high school was a student with average grades from one of the four city middle schools, which included East Middle School. This meant that some of these students had gone to middle school with Haruhi, so they realized that her decision to stay in the background was probably an omen of some kind. Unfortunately, I didn't know anyone from East Middle, and nobody in the class ever bothered to enlighten me. This led to what happened right after morning homeroom started, a few days after her crazy introduction. This was a moment I'll never forget. I broke the world record for stupidity and spoke to Suzumiya Haruhi. My domino reaction of misfortune had begun. and I was the one who had knocked the first one down. But come on, as long as Suzumi Haruhi sat still with her mouth shut, anyone looking at her would be convinced that she was just a beautiful high school girl. Who's going to blame me for losing my mind for a moment and assuming that I could use the fact that my seat was right in front of hers to approach her? Naturally, there's only one topic to talk about. "Hey," I said, as I nonchalantly turned around with a casual smile on my face. "About the stuff in your introduction earlier, how much of it was serious?" With her arms crossed and her mouth forming an upside-down V, Haruhi stared into my eyes unflinchingly. "What stuff earlier?" "Well, you know, the stuff about aliens and whatever." "Are you an alien?" She asked this with a dead serious look on her face. No, but what?" Just forget it. Don't talk to me then, you're wasting my time." The tone in her voice and the look she gave me were frigid enough to make me almost apologize out of reflex. Suzumi Haruhi then stopped, staring at me. What? Staring at me the way one would stare at Brussels sprouts, and with a turned to glare in the direction of the blackboard. Frozen out of a quick response, I was saved by the timely entrance of our homeroom teacher, Okabe. As I dejectedly turned to face the front of the room, I noticed a number of people looking curiously towards me. When our eyes met, each person would half smile in a knowingly way, as if to say, "Thought so." Then nod as if to offer their condolences. That kind of left me feeling uncomfortable. It was only later that I learned that they all had gone to East Middle. So yeah, given that my first contact with Haruhi would probably fall into the worst ever category, I had begun wondering if it would be better not to get involved with her. A week went by without anything happening to prove that idea wrong. However, there were other people in the class who hadn't grasped the situation or were just plain blind to their surroundings. Those classmates would approach Haruhi, who was always in a foul mood, brow wrinkled and mouth looking like an upside down V, and attempted to start a conversation about one thing or another. They were just some nosy girls who saw this girl who had isolated herself from day one and wanted to bring her into their circle of friends. I'm sure they were well intentioned, but if you take into account who they were dealing with, but you have to take into account who they were dealing with. Did you watch that TV show last night? The one that starts at 9? No. What? Why not? Don't care. Well, you should try watching an episode. Oh, but you know what's going to happen if But you won't know what's going on if you start now. Oh, that's right. In that case, I can fill you in on what's happened so far. Shut up. That's how it went. It'd be one thing if her response had been devoid of emotion, but Haruhi's facial expression and tone of voice were clearly broadcasting irritation, leaving the other person feeling like she had done something wrong. In the end, all the girl could say was, well, you know, before slinking away with drooping shoulders. Did I say something strange? Rest assured you didn't. The only thing strange here is Haruhi's mind. I don't particularly have a problem with eating alone, but picking at your lunch by yourself while everyone else is chattering at their tables might make people wonder. I'm not saying that's the reason, but when it came time for lunch, I would move my desk next to the tables of Kunikita, someone I've been relatively close to in middle school, and Taniguchi, a guy from East Middle who happened to sit near me. That's when the subject of Suzumiya Haruhi came up. Hey, you talked to Suzumiya the other day, right? Taniguchi suddenly asked. She probably drove you away with some random nonsense. You got that right. Taniguchi placed a boiled egg in his mouth and chewed. Well, if you're interested in her, I won't mince words. Just let it go. You should be well aware that Suzumiya is a freak. He mentioned by way of introduction that he had been in the same class as her for 3 years in middle school. so he knew what he was talking about. She's the strangest girl you'll ever meet. I thought she might calm down after becoming a high school student, but she hasn't changed one bit. You heard her introduction, right? The thing about aliens or whatever? That was Kunikita, busily picking bones from his grilled fish, cutting in. Yep, she said and did a bunch of strange things back in middle school, too. The most famous one would be the graffiti incident on school grounds. What's that? There's this machine that uses chalk to draw white lines, right? What was it called again? Whatever. Anyway, someone used that to draw some huge, bizarre pictograph on the school grounds. And whoever it was snuck in at night to do it. Taniguchi grinned. Maybe he was remembering what had happened? You'd be amazed. I arrived at school in the morning to find giant circles and triangles scribbled all over the ground. I couldn't tell what was supposed to be from up close, so I tried looking at it from the fourth floor. I still couldn't tell what it was supposed to be. Oh, I remember seeing that. Wasn't that in the local section of the newspaper? It had an aerial photo. It looked like a failed attempt at a Nazca geoglyph. That was Kinokuniya. I didn't remember any of this. It was. Headlined, Mysterious Graffiti Found on Middle School Grounds. So it came time to figure out who the culprit behind this ridiculous stint was. And she was one who did it. So time came to figure out, okay. She admitted to it, so it had to be her. Of course, they wanted to know why she did it. They even called her to the principal's office. Seems like all the teachers got together to question her. Why did she do it? Don't know. With that offhand response, Taniguchi began gulping down his white rice. Seems like she never fessed up. You try dealing with Suzumiya when she refused to say a word and gives you that killer glare. Can't do a thing about it. According to one account, the drawing was to invite UFOs. Another said it was a summoning circle for evil demons. Yet another said it was to open a gate to another world. A bunch of rumors popped up, but since she never gave a reason, no one can ever say. It's still a mystery. In my mind, I could picture Suzumiya Haruhi drawing white lines in pitch black darkness of the school grounds with an earnest expression on her face. The clattering line markers she's dragging around, and the heap of bags of lime were probably taken from the gym storeroom beforehand. She might have at least brought a flashlight. I couldn't help but think that in the flickering light, Suzumiya Haruhi's expression seemed filled with an overwhelming sense of tragic heroism. Only in my imagination, though. When you know why that actually happens, this is funny. Anyway. Suzumiya Haruhi was probably genuinely trying to invite UFOs or summon demons or open a gate to another world. She might have spent the whole night toiling away on the middle school grounds. And then finally, after nothing showed up, she might have been really demoralized. Just some basic speculation on my part. She also did a bunch of other stuff. Taniguchi was in the process of finishing off the remaining bits of his lunch. One morning, we showed up at the classroom to find all the desks out in the hall. She drew stars on the roof in paint. She even took a bunch of weird talismans, like the ones they stick on a corpse's head to reanimate it, and stuck them all over school. I really don't get her. By the way, Suzumiya Haruhi wasn't in the classroom right then. We couldn't have been able to have this conversation otherwise. Though, I got the feeling she wouldn't care, even if she had been there. Speaking of Suzumiya Haruhi, she made a habit of leaving the room the moment 4th period ended and not coming back until right before 5th period started. I'd never seen her bring a lunch, so she probably ate in the cafeteria. Still, it can't take an hour to eat lunch. Come to think of it, I could safely say that she was never in the room between classes. I wonder where she wandered off to. Even so, she's pretty popular. Taniguchi was still talking. It's because she's got the looks. Plus she's great at sports and probably gets better grades than most. You can't tell she's a freak when she just stands there and keeps her mouth shut. Are there any stories about her love life? That was Kunikita, who hadn't eaten half. What? Who hadn't eaten even half? Okay, as much as Taniguchi. Bleh. For a while, she kept switching from one guy to another. As far as I know, the longest lasted a week, and probably the shortest was 5 minutes after she agreed to go out with him. It was always Suzumiya doing the dumping, without exception. She always used the same line, "I don't have time to deal with ordinary humans. They don't agree to go out in the first place." Taniguchi was probably speaking from experience. I guess he noticed me looking at him since he hurriedly went on. It was just a story I heard, really. I don't know why, but apparently she doesn't turn anyone down. Everyone had it figured out by the 3rd year, so there wasn't anybody left trying to ask her out. But I get the feeling that the same thing is going to happen in high school. That's why I'm warning you before you get any weird ideas. Give it up. Consider it a friendly warning from a classmate. There's nothing to give up on. I'm not even interested. Taniguchi placed his empty lunchbox in his bag and smirked. Oh, well, if you ask me, then yeah. That's the best one in the class over there. Asakura Ryoko. Taniguchi stuck his chin toward a cluster of chatting girls with their desks close together. In the center of the cluster with a cheerful smile on her face was Asakura Ryoko. As far as I'm concerned, she's got to be in the top 3 of our year. For our year. Did you check out all the freshman girls already or something? Oh yeah. I assigned them ranks from A to D. No S? And I learned the full names of the ones who ranked A. You only get to live the high school life once. Might as well have fun doing it. And Sakura is an A? Kunikita asked. An A plus for sure. Once you've reached my level of expertise, you can tell just by looking at their face. She's definitely a nice person too. Well, even if you assume that half of Taniguchi's opinionated rambling was a load of bull, Asakura. I was saying her name wrong. Asakura Ryoko was, in fact, a girl who stood out in a different way from Suzumiya Haruhi. First off, she was a hottie. It was also really sweet how she gave the feeling that when she was... What? It was also really sweet how she gave you the feeling she was always smiling. Second, Taniguchi was probably correct in judging that Ryoko was a nice person. By this point, there pretty much wasn't anyone left foolish... Anybody left foolish enough to try to talk to Suzumiya Haruhi. The only human undeterred by the constant rude reception was Asakura Ryoko. She had the temperament of a class president. Third, judging by her responses in class, she seemed pretty smart too. Every question directed to her was guaranteed to be answered correctly. She was a student any teacher would love to have. Fourth, she was also popular among girls. It had only been a week since school started, and she'd already succeeded in becoming the ringleader of the girls in the class. She definitely had enough charisma to attract the masses. If you pit her against Suzumiya Haruhi with her perpetually furrowed brow, and incomprehensible thinking pattern, everybody's going to take the former, myself included, I guess. Either way, they were both way out of Taniguchi's league. It was still April. At this point, Suzumiya Haruhi had yet to act up, which meant that for me, it was a month of relaxation. It'd been almost another month before Haruhi started rampaging. However, I should mention that I was able to gradually observe Haruhi's eccentric behavior during this period. And so, peculiarity number 1. Her hairstyle changed every day. I noticed this sort of pattern after looking at her for a while. It basically went like this. On Monday, Haruhi would show up with her long, straight hair flowing down her back in a normal fashion, The next day, she would walk in with a ponytail, looking flawless from every angle. The way it looks so perfect on her is almost more than I can bear. But then on the next day, she would come to school with her hair tied in two pigtails. The day after that, it would be 3. Then on Friday, she would have 4 random spots tied off by ribbons. It was quite an odd sight. Mondays equals 0, Tuesday equals 1, Wednesday equals 2. In other words, she tied off another part of her hair for every day that passed. After resetting on Monday, she added 1 per day until Friday. I had no idea what it was supposed to signify. Based on the pattern, she'd eventually end up with 6 tied off spots. I wonder what her head looked like on Sunday. I would like to have liked to see it. Peculiarity number 2. Boys and girls are split up for gym class, so classes 5 and 6 are combined. Girls change in odd numbered rooms and boys move to even numbered rooms. Once a class before gym ends, the boys grab their gym clothes and prepare to move to class 6. As that was happening, Suzumiya Haruhi completely ignored the fact that boys were so present in the classroom and began taking off her uniform. She would then toss her uniform on her desk and pick up her gym clothes with an indifferent look on her face, as though she viewed the gallery of guys on the same level as pumpkins or potatoes. At that point, the completely dumbstruck guys, myself included, were kicked out of the room by Asakura Ryoko. It seemed that afterwards, Ryoko led the other girls in lecturing Haruhi, but yeah, it didn't accomplish anything. Haruhi continued to change without giving a damn about her male audience, which is why when the bell for the break before gym rang, that's okay, the guys were obligated per Ryoko's orders to immediately sprint out of the room. But damn, she was hot. Let's move on. Peculiarity number 3. Haruhi would invariably be absent from the classroom during breaks. You could count on her to be out the door carrying her bag the second school was out. At first, I thought she went straight home, but apparently not. To my amazement, she had been temporarily joining a wide range of school clubs. You would see her dribbling around on the basketball team one day, only to find her sewing a pillowcase in the handicrafts club the next day, and swinging a stick on the lacrosse team the next. She had even joined the baseball team, so it didn't look like she was leaving anything out. Every sports club, without exception, fervently pursued her membership. Turning the requests down, she would arbitrarily join a different club every day. In the end, she didn't stick with a single one of them. What exactly was she trying to accomplish? Naturally, the rumor that there was a strange girl in this year's freshman class spread like wildfire throughout the school. It only took about a month before every single person involved with our school knew of Suzumiya Haruhi. By the beginning of May, it reached the point where some people still didn't know the name of the principal, but everybody knew the name Suzumiya Haruhi. As all of this was going on, well, Haruhi was the only one actually involved. Well, we reached the month of May. I'm more willing to believe in the chance of someone discovering a Plesiosaurus in Lake Biwa than in fate. But if fate does in fact affect the lives of humans from some unknown place, I'm guessing that this was when my wheel of destiny began to turn. I'm positive that someone up there had rewritten my future without my consent. It was the first day after the Golden Week holidays. I discovered that I had lost track of what day of the week it was as I trudged up the winding hill, dripping sweat in the scorching, abnormal May weather. What was the Earth trying to do here? Did it catch yellow fever or something? Yo, Kyon! Someone behind me tapped me on the shoulder. It was Taniguchi. He had his blazer slung nonchalantly over his shoulder, half necktie half loose, and a grin plastered on his face. Did you go somewhere for a Golden Week? I took my sister to see her grandmother. That's lame. What about you? Worked the whole time. How's that any better? Kyon, a high school student shouldn't be babysitting his little sister on a merry little trip to visit grandparents. You gotta act more like a high schooler. Incidentally, the nickname Kyon belongs to me. From what I recall, one of my aunts was the first to call me that. It was a few years back when I hadn't seen her for a while. And when she saw me, she went, "Oh, Kyon, you've grown so much." Which was an unwelcome twist on my name. So they never say what his, at least I haven't seen what his name actually is. So I guess his name could be Kyo. Kyon? Yeah, I don't know. Kyo is definitely a name, but anyway. Upon hearing that, my sister thought it was hilarious and started calling me Kyon-kun. Some friends who came to my house happened to overhear her calling me that, and ever since, my nickname's been Kyon. Damn. It's an annual family tradition for us cousins to get together during Golden Week. And with that indifferent response, I continued trudging up the hill. The feeling of sweat dripping from my hair was extremely unpleasant. Taniguchi was cheerfully going on about some stuff about some cute girl he met at work, and how he had been saving up money so he would have plenty to spend for a date. This could be considered some of the most boring information ever told, along with telling people about your dreams or bragging about your pet. As I listened to Taniguchi describe 3 different date scenarios with his non-existent companion, we finally made it to the school front gate. Let me get some water here. I'll backtrack the OST a little bit. Okay. When I entered the classroom, I found that Suzumiya Haruhi was already in the seat behind mine, coolly looking out the window. Today her hair was arranged in 2 buns sticking out like doorknobs, which made me think, 2 spots would make today Wednesday. And with that affirmation, I took my seat. That was when I probably became possessed by some demon. I can think of no other explanation. The next thing I knew, I was talking to Suzumiya Haruhi. Do you change your hair every day for the aliens? Haruhi turned her head towards me in a robotic motion and stared at me with a perpetually serious face. Kinda scary. When did you notice? She asked in a tone like she was talking to a rock on the side of the road. Come to think of it, when did I notice? Just recently. I see. Haruhi rested her chin on her hand, like she was looking like she was already sick of this. I think each day of the week gives off a different image. This would be the first time we actually reached a conversation. Just look at the Chinese characters, kanji, using names of the days for the week. Color-wise, Monday would be yellow, Tuesday is red, Wednesday is blue, Thursday is green, Friday would be gold, Saturday would be light brown, Sunday would be white. I guess I can see where she's coming from. So with numbers, Monday would be 0 and Sunday would be 6? Yes. Monday feels more like 1 to me. Nobody asked for your opinion. Oh, really? Haruhi continued to stare, as though she found something wrong with my muttering face. This lasted long enough for me to start feeling quite uneasy. She asked, Have I met you before, a long time ago? Nope, I replied. And with homeroom teacher Okabe's entrance, the conversation came to an end. That was the beginning. Nothing particularly significant, but it was indeed the catalyst. Besides, Haruhi was only in the classroom during class, so the only time I could talk to her was right before homeroom. I can't deny the fact that being seated right in front of her provided the perfect position for casually striking up a conversation with her. In any case, the serious response from Haruhi was a surprise. "Shut up, moron. Be quiet. Who cares about that?" were the replies I was expecting. In fact, the fact that I still talk to her anyway probably means that there's something wrong with me. Which is why, when Haruhi showed up the next day without her hair tied up in 3 spots according to pattern, but with her long, beautiful hair cut in a black hair cut instead, I was rather disturbed. Anyway, wasn't cutting it the day after I pointed it out a bit hasty? What gives? Upon asking, Haruhi replied, "None of your business." As usual, she merely sounded pissed without actually revealing what she was thinking. There is no way she's going to tell me why she cut her hair. Well, I expected as much. "Did you really try joining all the clubs?" Afterward, conversing with Haruhi in this short period before homeroom became a daily event. Not only did I have to initiate the conversation every time, I had to be careful in choosing subject matter, since talking about what was on TV yesterday or the weather would elicit a "that's dead boring" reaction from Haruhi. Let me know if you find one that's fun. It'd be useful to know. There aren't any. An immediate response. There totally aren't any at all. After repeating herself, Haruhi exhaled like butterfly wings fluttering. Was that supposed to be a sigh? What would butterfly wings fluttering sound like as a exhale? I don't know. Anyway. I was expecting something better after entering high school, but this is no different than back in grammar and middle school. Maybe I chose the wrong place. What criteria did you use to choose a school? The athletic club and art clubs are all so normal. With so many clubs, you think there'd be at least one weird one. What exactly do you decide if it's normal or weird? Any club I like is weird. Everything else is totally normal. Isn't that obvious? Really? Obvious, is it? First I heard about it. She looked away, and the day's conversation came to an end. Another day came. I heard this rumor. Probably something worthless, right? Is it true that you've dumped every guy you went out with? What gives you the right to ask me that? Haruhi brushed her hair off her shoulder and glared at me with her dark black eyes. Man, the only time her face showed any emotion was when she was pissed off. You heard that from Taniguchi. ? I can't believe I'm still in the same class with him in what? I can't believe I'm in the same class with him in high school. Maybe he's a stalker. I doubt it, I think. I don't know what you've heard, but fine. It's probably all true. There seriously wasn't a single guy you wanted to go out with? Totally not. It appeared she had a habit of using the word totally. Every single one of them was ridiculously lame. Meet in front of the station on Sunday and do something obvious like watch a movie. Go to the amusement park or watch a sporting event. And have lunch at a fast food place. Wander around and get a drink. Bye, see you tomorrow. What, that's it? Picture of her. I think that's after she cuts her hair. I was wondering what she found wrong with that, but I kept my mouth shut. If Haruhi thinks there's a problem, then by all means, a problem there must be. And what's up with most of them asking me out over the phone? Important matters like that should be done in person. As I channeled the psyche of a guy who probably found it hard to make such an important, at least for him, confession, while being glared at like an insect, I decided to play along for now. Well, I guess so. I'd probably just ask her in person. That's not important. Make up your mind. The problem is that every man on this planet is worthless. Honestly, I was irritated for most of middle school. You still are. Then what kind of guy do you want? I'm guessing an alien? An alien, or something along those lines. In any case, as long as they're not an ordinary human, it doesn't matter if they're male or female. Why are you so particular about non-humans? As soon as I asked, how did he look at me as like I was retarded? Isn't that more fun? I suppose. She might be right. I won't argue with Haruhi's opinion. I wouldn't mind if a mysterious, beautiful transfer student was actually half alien, half human, and if that moron Taniguchi, sitting nearby trying to spy on Haruhi and me, he's doing it right now, had actually been an investigator from the future. That would have been pretty cool. And if Asakura Yoko, who was smiling in my direction for some reason, right now, had actually been an Esper, life at school would have been a bit more fun. But it's all impossible. Aliens, time travelers, and Espers couldn't possibly exist. Even if they did, they wouldn't just pop up in front of us. Besides, there's no way somebody would walk up to me and say, "Hey, guess what? I'm actually an alien," by way of introduction for no reason at all. And that's why, Haruhi yelled out, knocking her chair down in the process. Everyone in the class turned around. And that's why I'm working so hard. Sorry I'm late. Our homeroom teacher, Okabe, looking bright, cheerful, and out of breath, rushed in and took a look at Haruhi, standing with her fists in the air and glaring at the ceiling. And everybody else in the classroom looking at Haruhi in unison and frozen in bewilderment. Homeroom's starting. Haruhi plopped back into her chair, which I guess she had to pick it back up, and began fervently staring at the corner of her desk. Whew. I turned back toward the front of the room. The rest of the class did the same, and teacher Okabe staggered over to his podium and cleared his throat. Sorry I'm late. Homeroom's starting. And with that reiteration of his opening remarks, we returned to our daily mundane routine. This daily mundane routine is probably what Haruhi detested the most. But isn't this how life goes? Still, I couldn't ignore this crazy feeling in the dark corner of my heart that envied Haruhi's way of life. She was still eagerly waiting for a chance encounter with the extraordinary, something I had given up long ago. You can't deny she was going all out for it. It's not like aliens are going to fall out of the sky if you wait long enough. Haruhi's point was that in that case we should reach out to them. Thus the markings on the ground, the painting on the roof, and the talismans around school. Jeez Louise. Do people even say that anymore? I don't know when Haruhi began doing things to make spectators think like she had some sort of mental patient. But I guess if she had already spent a long time waiting before running out of patience and attempting bizarre rituals with no results, it would make perfect sense for her to end up always looking like she'd hated the whole world, right? Or I guess not. Hey, Kyon! During break, Taniguchi came over with a moody expression plastered on his face. That expression makes you look like a moron, Taniguchi. Screw you. Forget about that. Anyway, what kind of magic did you use, Kyon? What do you mean by magic? I responded, as I recall the saying that sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Sticking his thumb at Haruhi's seat, which Haruhi, true to form, had vacated the instant class ended, Taniguchi said, I've never seen Suzumiya talk that way before. What did you say to her? Don't know. What did I say? I get the feeling I just asked whatever was on my mind. Taniguchi had this over-exaggerated look of shock on his face. It's the end of the world. Kunikita popped out from behind him. Kyon's always liked weird girls. Don't say things that can be misconstrued, I replied. I don't give a damn whether or not Kyon likes weird girls, said Taniguchi. What I want to understand is how Suzumiya and Kyon managed to hold an actual conversation. I can't accept that. Well, if I had to guess, wouldn't it be because Kyon would also be categorized as a weirdo? Well, yeah, a guy with a nickname like Kyon can't be normal, but still. Stop going Kyon, Kyon. Hell, I'd rather you call me by my actual name. I would at least like my little sister to call me Onei-chan, big brother. I'd also like to know. A girl's voice suddenly descended upon us, a clear soprano. I looked up to find Sakura Ryoko with a sincere smile on her face. Suzumiya never responds, no matter how hard I try. How did you get her to talk to you? Is there a trick to it? I gave a little consideration, or I should say, pretended to give it consideration before shaking my head. The answer was obvious, after all. I don't know. Sakura laughed. Well, I believe, but I'm relieved now. It'd be good if Suzumiya kept it. Would I? What? Let me read that again. But I'm relieved now. I'd be worried if Suzumiya kept isolating herself from the rest of the class. It's a good thing that she's managed to make a friend. If you're wondering why Sakura Ryoko was acting concerned as though she were the class president, that's because she was the class president. It had been decided in a long homeroom period earlier. Friend, huh? I tilted my head. You think so? I get the feeling I've only seen her with a sullen expression on her face. Yeah, well, keep up whatever you're doing to make Suzumiya open up to the class. We were fortunate enough to be put in the same class, so we should all be friends, right? I'm counting on you. Counting on me, huh? Easy for you to say. If you need to tell her anything from now on, if I need to tell her anything from now on, I'll ask you to pass on the message for me. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm not her spokesperson or anything. Pretty please. She even clasped her hands together. I can only stammer grunts in the forms of and ah, which she apparently took to mean my consent. With a smile like a yellow tulip in our direction, she returned to the cluster of girls. The fact that every girl in that cluster was turning their attention this way was enough to sink my mood another 2 notches. Kyon, we're buddies, right? Taniguchi said this with a suspicious glint in his eyes, because all the girls were looking at him. What was he talking about? Even Kunikita, who was standing there with his eyes closed and arms crossed while nodding his head for no reason. Guys are all idiots. Water. Apparently, it was decided at some point that the seating order was to be changed every month. Class President Sakura Ryoko went around with a cookie tin of quadruple folded pieces of paper to be drawn. I drew quite an excellent seat next to the window facing the courtyard, second from the back of the room. So this is weird because I think in the were they in that seat in the beginning of the... Anyway, no, it's fine. Okay. So you got a seat from the second back of the room next to the window. As for the person in the seat behind me, I don't know how it happened, but Suzumiya Haruhi sat behind me looking like she was suffering a cavity. I wonder if students will start disappearing one by one, or maybe a teacher will be found murdered inside a locked classroom. That's some dangerous stuff. There was a mystery research society. How was it? A joke. They haven't encountered anything remotely resembling a case. All the members are just mystery novel fanatics. None of them look like detective material. Well, duh. I was expecting more from the supernatural phenomenon research society. Really? But it was just a bunch of occult freaks. What do you think of that? Not much. Oh man, it's boring. Why doesn't the school have a single decent club? You can't do anything about what doesn't exist. I expected high school to have more radical clubs. I feel just like a stupid baseball player aiming for the national championships who just discovered that this high school doesn't even have a baseball team. He glared at the sky with crocodile eyes, like those of an enchantress ready to begin a 100 prayer ritual, and sighed like a breeze. It's a very oddly specific description. Was I supposed to feel sorry for her? All else aside, hadn't even specified what kind of club would satisfy her. Did she even know? She was just vaguely thinking, I want to do something fun. What would the something fun be? Involving solving a homicide, looking for aliens, exorcising demons? I got the feeling she hadn't even decided yet. I offered my opinion. In the end, humans have to settle for what's in front of them. If you think about it, the only humans who couldn't were the ones who made discoveries or inventions and advanced civilization. Planes were invented because people wanted to fly. Cars and trains came to be because people wanted easier means to move around. But all this came from a limited number of people who had innovative plans and concepts and money. In other words, geniuses made it all possible. Average people like us are best off living ordinary lives. Shut up. Haruhi cut me off and turned away. Just as I was getting into a groove, she looked like she was in a really bad mood. Well, nothing new about that. That girl probably didn't care what it was, as long as it was a phenomenon that defied the tedium of reality. But such a phenomenon wasn't going to really appear in this world, or rather, it wasn't going to appear, period. Long live the laws of physics. They're what allows us to live life in peace and quiet. Too bad for Haruhi. At least that's what I thought. That's normal, right? What was the catalyst here? Maybe our last conversation gave her the idea? It happened so fast. Bright rays of sunshine were putting me to sleep as my head perilously swayed back and forth, to and fro. I felt something grab my collar and pull me with frightful vigor. Exhausted, I felt the crack in the back of my head meet the edge of the desk behind me with a fierce crash. I could feel fresh tears in my eyes. What are you doing? When I turned around in rage and indignation, I found Haruhi standing and grabbing my collar, with, for the first time ever, a smile reminiscent of a blazing sun in an equatorial sky. If you could take the temperature of a smile, hers would have matched the climate of the middle of a rainforest. I figured it out. Don't spit on me. Why didn't I realize such a simple thing sooner? Haruhi looked up at me with her eyes shining as brightly as Alpha Cygni. I had no choice but to ask. Realize what? If there aren't any, I just have to make one myself. Make what? A club. Here's that being pressed up against the desk wasn't the only reason my head was hurting. I see. That's great, but by the way, can you let go now? What's with that reaction? You should be a little happier about this discovery. You can tell me all about your discovery later. Depending on the circumstances, I may even share your joy, but for now, just calm down. What do you mean? We're in class right now. Haruhi finally released her grip on my collar. As I turned my ringing head back towards the front of the room, I could see my fellow classmates with their mouths half open and the female teacher, fresh out of college, with a piece of chalk in one hand on the verge of tears. I gestured behind me for Haruhi. I gestured behind me for Haruhi. Wow, I can't talk. Let me get some water. I gestured behind me for Haruhi to hurry up and sit down. I then turned my hand palm up, and held out toward the poor English teacher. Please continue with class. As she muttered something under her breath, Haruhi finally took her seat, and the female teacher went back to writing on the board. Make a new club? She couldn't possibly be including me as a member, right? The throbbing in the back of my head boded ill of things to come. I think that's chapter 1. Alright. Okay. Chapter 2. In retrospect, that was exactly how it played out. The following break, Haruhi didn't leave the room by herself like normal. Instead, she walked out with my arm forcibly in tow. After exiting the classroom, she rapidly proceeded through the hallway and flew up a flight of stairs before stopping at the front of the door which led to the rooftop terrace. The door to the roof was usually locked, and the staircase leading up from the fourth floor was mostly used for storage, probably by the art club. Stuff like huge canvases, broken easels, and noseless busts of Mars were all piled up, leaving the corridor feeling cramped. Scratch that, it was cramped. And the lighting was dim to boot. What was the point of bringing me to a place like this? Help me, Haruhi said. She was currently grabbing my necktie, pressuring me with her penetrating eyes. It felt like extortion. Help you with what? I already knew the answer, but I asked anyway. Making my new club. Why do I have to help with your idea? Tell me that first. I'll go secure our room with members, and you go get the chartering paperwork. She's not listening. I entangled myself from Haruhi's grip. What kind of club are you planning to make? Why does that even matter? Creating a club comes first. I highly doubted the school would accept a club engaging in undisclosed activities. Understand? Find out what you have to do before school's over. I'll find a room before then. Got it? No. Except I had the feeling that if I gave voice to that thought, I would be clubbed to death on the spot. While I was trying to say the right thing, Haruhi had already flitted down the stairs with an oddly surprised skipping motion, leaving behind a very confused boy at the top of the dusty stairway. I didn't say yes or no yet. No point in talking to a plaster bust. I set off, now thinking about what I would say to my curious classmates when I returned to the classroom. Here are the provisions for chartering a student association. 5 or more members. Determine faculty advisor, name, responsible party, and club activities. These must be approved by the Student Council Club Administration Committee. Club activities must adhere to the policy of leading a productive and active school life. Based on future activities and performance, the Administration Committee may press a motion for a raise in status to Research Society. Furthermore, as long as the group remains a student association, no funding will be provided. There was no need for any real digging. It was all written in the back of the school handbook, or student handbook. We could take care of the member requirement by randomly asking people who would let us use their names. A faculty advisor might be hard to find, but there was also the option of using deceit. Lying. The name would just need to be something inoffensive. The responsible party would obviously be Haruhi. But I was willing to bet that her club activities weren't going to adhere to the policy of leading a productive and active school life. At least that's what I told her. However, Suzumiya Haruhi is the kind of person who only hears what she wants to hear. Grabbing the sleeve of my blazer with a vice-like grip the moment the bell rang, Haruhi dragged me out of the room the way a kidnapper would and zoomed off. It was all I could do to prevent my book bag from being left behind in the classroom. Where are we going? The question any sane person would ask in this scenario. The club room, was Haruhi's curt response before she fell silent as she moved forward with enough vigor to bowl over the darting students in front of us. At least let go of my arm. We navigated through a passage and descended to the first floor before exiting. Then we entered a different building and headed back upstairs before Haruhi came to a stop in the middle of a dimly lit hallway, forcing me to brake as well. A door stood before us. Literary Club. That's what it said on the affixed, slanting nameplate. Here. Haruhi opened the door without even knocking and barged in without the slightest hint of a reservation. I followed suit, naturally. The room was surprisingly large, maybe because it only contained a long table, metal chairs, and steel bookshelves. The 2 or 3 cracks running along the ceiling and walls told the tale of the decrepit state of the building structure. And seated in one of the metal chairs, like an addition to the room, was a girl reading a thick hardcover book. "This room is now our club room," Haruhi proclaimed with a dignified fashion, throwing her arms into the air. Her face was painted with a divine smile. I decided not to voice my opinion that seeing such a smile on her face in the classroom every day would be a good thing. Wait a second, where are we? The Cultural Department Clubhouse. The art club and Win Ensemble have the art room and music room, right? Club and societies that don't have specialized classrooms have rooms in this clubhouse, also known as the Old Shack. This is the literary club's room. So this belongs to the literary club. But the 3rd years all graduated last spring, so it has 0 members. It was the only club that would have been cut off if nobody new joined. And this girl is the first year who joined. Then the club wasn't cut, right? Might as well have been. She's the only person. I'm sorry, it only has one person. Unfreaking believable. She planned on taking over the room. I directed my attention towards the girl who was apparently a first-year literary club member, indulging herself in reading at the folding table. A girl with short hair and glasses. She hadn't even looked up once during Haruhi's clamoring. The only movement was when her fingers turned the page every once in a while. The rest of her body hadn't moved the slightest bit. She was completely ignoring our presence. She was quite the weird girl. I lowered my voice and whispered to Haruhi, "What about her?" She said she's fine with it. For real? I ran into her during lunch. When I asked her to lend me this room, she said to go ahead. She doesn't care as long as she can read, apparently. I suppose you could call her an oddball. You're one to talk. I took another look at the strange literary club member. Pale skin with a face devoid of emotion. Robotic finger movement. Her hair was shorter than a bob cut, yet managed to cover her arranged features. It made me want to see what she looked like without glasses on. Her doll-like demeanor meant she had a lack of presence. If I had to classify her, the simplest way would be to say she was a mysterious, stoic type. I'm not sure what she thought of my blatantly fixed stare. The girl pushed up the bridge of her glasses without preamble. Dark-colored eyes stared at me from behind the lenses. Neither eyes nor lips revealed any emotion at all. A top-notch poker face. Unlike Haruhi's, her default expression appeared to show no emotion at all. "Nagato Yuki," she said. Seemed to be her name. She said in a flat voice you could forget in 3 seconds. Nagato Yuki looked at me for about as long as it would take to blink twice. Then she apparently lost interest and returned to her reading. "So, Nagato," I said. "She's planning on turning this room into a I have no idea what club. Is that still okay with you?" "Yes." Nagato Yuki answered without taking her eyes from the page. Well, but it'd probably be a huge bother." "Not really. You might even get chased out." "Go ahead." Quick responses were good, but her replies had no feeling to them. It would seem like she genuinely didn't care. "Well, there you have it," Haruhi interjected. Her voice was always full of life. I was getting a bad feeling about this for some reason. "Be sure to meet in this room after school. Before I try it again. Be sure to meet in this room after school from now on. You had better show up. If you don't, heads will roll." She said this with a smile like cherry blossoms in full bloom. I reluctantly nodded my assent, since I like my head where it is. And so we managed to secure a club room, which was good, but we haven't yet made any progress on the paperwork. Besides, we haven't even decided on a name or what club activities we were engaging in. I told her to figure those out first, but Haruhi apparently had other ideas. All that stuff will all fall into place later on, he loudly proclaimed. First comes the members. We need at least 2 more. Which means what? You're counting that literary club member? Aren't you confusing Nagato Yuki with the piece of furniture that came with the room? Rest assured, I'll find them in no time. I happen to know of someone who was made for this club. How was I supposed to rest assured? My doubts were only growing stronger. The next day, I declined when Taniguchi and Kunikita invited me to walk home with them, and, having no choice, dragged my legs towards the clubroom. He just yelled, "You go on ahead," before turning out of the room with a record acceleration time that would explain why the track team so fervently pursued her membership. Fast enough to make you wonder if she had booster rockets attached to her legs. She was probably off to secure the new club member. Did she finally run into an alien? I slung my book bag over my shoulder and unenthusiastically shuffled my feet in the direction of the literary club. Nagato Yuki was already in the clubroom. She was reading in the exact same position as yesterday, giving me the sense of deja vu. Just like yesterday, she didn't even twitch as I entered the room. Not that I would know, but is the literary club just a club for sitting around and reading books? Silence. "What you reading?" I asked, unable to bear the silence any longer. Instead of answering, Nagato Yuki merely raised the book to show me the cover. The foreign-sounding title, written in Gothic lettering, was already putting me to sleep. It looked like a sci-fi novel or something. "Is it any good?" Nagato Yuki pushed up the bridge of her glasses up in a limp motion, replied in a listless tone. "Unique." I got the feeling she was just giving an arbitrary answer to my question. Which part of it? All of it. "You like books, huh?" "Relatively." "Is that so?" Silence. "Can I leave now?" I dropped my bag on the table and I was in the process of seating myself in one of the extra chairs when the door opened. Well, more like it was kicked open. "Hey, sorry about being late. It took time to catch her." Haruhi made her entrance with one hand held over her head. The other hand was behind her, dragging some other person's arm. Haruhi barged in with said person in tow, oblivious of what obviously brought her against her will, and locked the door for some reason. Click. Upon hearing that sound, the petite person began trembling with anxiety. It was another girl, and an extraordinarily beautiful one at that. How is this person made for this club exactly? What is this?" the beautiful girl said. The poor thing was almost in tears. Where are we? Why did you bring me here? Why are you locking the door? What are you?" "Be quiet." The girl froze with a start upon hearing Haruhi's imperious tone. "Allow me to introduce you. This is Asahina Mikuru." And with that, Haruhi said no more. That's the whole introduction. A constrained silence fell over the room. Haruhi was standing there looking like she had already done her duty. Nagato Yuki was reading as though nothing had happened. The mysterious girl named Asahina Mikuru was cowering on the verge of tears. I didn't foresee any of them speaking up soon, so I had no choice but to open my mouth. "Where did you abduct her from?" "I didn't abduct her. It was voluntary arrest." "Close enough." "I caught her daydreaming in a second-year classroom. I walked through every nook and cranny of the school during breaks." There you go. "So her face started to become familiar after a while. That's where she goes after every break, or during every break." I had been wondering why she was in the classroom during breaks. So that's what she was doing. Wait, more importantly, then isn't she an upperclassman? Isn't she a senpai? What about it? She had a puzzled expression on her face. Apparently she didn't think anything of it. Never mind then. Asahina, is it? Why her? Picture. Yep, pretty accurate. What's going on right now? Well, take a look. Haruhi jabbed her finger at the nose of Asahina Mikuru, who shrank in fear. She's super cute, isn't she? Haruhi sounded like a dangerous kidnapper. Huh, at least that was my reaction. I believe that moe is the essential factor. Sorry, what was that? Moe, turn-ons. Moe means to burn, moeru, burn with passion. Anyway, the element of turning people on. Fundamentally, in every story where something strange happens, there's always an alluring Lolita-looking character present. I inadvertently turned to look at Asahina Mikuru, a petite body and a baby face. I see. An unintended person could easily mistake her for a grade school student. Her slightly curly, we're not there yet, her slightly curly chestnut hair softly concealing her collar. Her watery puppy dog eyes begged for protection, and her teeth of white ivory peeking out from beneath her half-open mouth created a miraculous sense of harmony with her small face. If she had been holding a wand with a glowing ball on top, I'd have expected her to transform into a magical anime girl. Wait, what the hell am I saying? And that's not all. Haruhi circled behind Asahina Mikuru, our senpai, our upperclassman, with a lofty smile and suddenly grabbed her from behind. What? Asahina screamed. Haruhi, undeterred, moved in for the kill as she grabbed hold of her breasts through her sailor uniform. Ah! She's so small, yet look. Her breasts are bigger than mine. A Lolita with face with big breasts. This is the most important element of turning people on. News to me. Ah, they sure are big. And with that, Haruhi reached under Asahina's uniform and began to grope her. Hello? It's starting to piss me off. She's such a cutie. She's a cutie's. Such a cutie, sporting bigger ones than me. Asahina struggled and kicked, her face bright red, but she couldn't overcome the difference between their physical builds. Haruhi, getting carried away, began lifting her skirt, which is when I pried the perverted girl off of Asahina's back. Are you a moron? But they're really big, seriously. Why don't you touch them? Asahina let out a small squeak upon hearing that. I'll pass. What else could I say? What's really amazing is that during this whole time, Nagato Yuki hadn't looked up from her book once. Something was wrong with her too. So then what? The fact is that this Asahina is cute, small, and has big breasts is why you brought her here? That's right. Haruhi must have been born dumb. I don't think we need I was thinking we need a mascot character like her. Don't. Think about something else. Asahina's softly. Oh, this was a weird BGM. Change this. That works. Oh, this would have been perfect when Mikuru was getting groped. Anyway. Yeah. So don't think about that. Think about something else. Asahina softly rearranged her disheveled uniform, then stared at me with upturned eyes. It's kind of awkward when you look at me that way. Mikuru, are you in any other clubs? The calligraphy club? Quit that then. It'll conflict with our club activities. Haruhi was as self-centered as ever. Asahina looked like a future murder victim who had just been given the option of taking potassium cyanide or strychnine. She glanced up at me once more as if seeking salvation. She didn't notice Nagato Yuki's presence for the first time, and her eyes opened wide in surprise. Her eyes wandered the room before whispering, I see, in a voice reminiscent of a dragonfly sighing. I understand, she said. What did she just understand? I'll quit the calligraphy club and join this one. The sadness in her voice really made me feel bad for her. But I'm not sure what the literary club does. Well, we aren't the literary club. Haruhi said like this was the most obvious thing in the world. I explained to the wide-eyed Asahina in Haruhi's place. We're temporarily borrowing this room. The club you're being forced into is an unnamed student association, yet to be made by Haruhi over there, that will participate in unknown activities. What? Incidentally, the person sitting there reading is a real literary club member. Ah. Asahina, adorable lips wide open, became speechless. Couldn't blame her. No worries, Haruhi said with a bright smile free from any sense of responsibility, firmly brought her hand down on Asahina's small shoulder. I just came up with a name. Let's hear it. My voice, carrying no hint of expectation, echoed through the room. If possible, I'd rather not hear this. And Suzumiya Haruhi obviously couldn't care less about my concerns as she triumphantly named the club in her soaring voice. Attention everyone. The name of this fledgling club has just been decided. No alterations have been made. This is purely a product of Suzumiya Haruhi's mind. SOS Brigade. To save the world by overloading it with fun, Suzumiya Haruhi Brigade, or SOS Brigade for short. Feel free to laugh. I was dumbstruck first, though. You're probably wondering why it's a brigade. Originally, it should have been save the world by overloading with fun Haruhi Suzumiya Haruhi Association. But an association had not been chartered yet, and nobody had a clue as to what this group was supposed to do. So brigade is fine then. Haruhi's incomprehensible words settled the matter. Oh joy. Asahina kept her mouth shut as though she resigned to her fate. Blech. Nagato Yuki was an outsider. I couldn't bring myself to say anything. Consequently, the name SOS Brigade passed with one I and three abstentions. Oh joy. Just do whatever you want. After Haruhi instructed us to meet here after school every day, and we were dismissed. The sight of Asahina trudging through the hallway with her shoulders drooping was too pitiful to watch. So, Asahina, what is it? Asahina, who didn't look any way older than me, tilted her innocent face, pure innocence, towards me. You don't have to join such a weird group. Don't worry about her. I'll talk to her later. No. She stopped walking, with her eyes narrowing ever so slightly. It's okay. I'll join. But I really doubt this will turn out well. It'll be fine. You're also here, aren't you? That's right. Why am I here? This is probably an inevitability of this time plane. The eyes on her cute round face looked off into the distance. Huh? I'm concerned about why Nagato is here. Concerned? No, it's nothing. Asahina shook her head in a flustered state. The soft strands of her hair gently swayed. Then Asahina, with an embarrassed smile on her face, bowed deeply. I may be new at this, but I hope to get along with everyone. Well, if you say so. Also, please feel free to call me Mikuru. She smiled sweetly. Yeah, she's cute enough to make me swoon. I was talking to Haruhi one day. What else do we need? Beats me. I'm thinking about getting my hands on a mysterious transfer student. I'd like you to define mysterious first. It hasn't even been 2 months since the new term began. Anyone who transfers in at this point must qualify as mysterious, right? Don't you agree? Maybe the student's dad was transferred suddenly. No, that's abnormal. What would you consider normal? I would like to know. I wonder if a mysterious transfer student would show up. In other words, you don't give a damn what I think, do you? It would appear that a rumor had spread that Haruhi and I were plotting something. Say, what are you and Suzumiya up to? The person who asked was obviously Taniguchi. Don't tell me you two are dating. Obviously not. I'm the one who would like to know exactly what the hell we're doing. Don't overdo it. We're not in middle school anymore. If you render the grounds unusable, then they might suspend you. If Haruhi does something by herself, I can't be bothered to clean up after her. At the very least, I have to prevent Nagoto Yuki and Asahina Mikuru from coming to any harm. I'm kind of proud of how considerate I am. Though I doubt I have much chance at stopping Haruhi once the afterburners kick in. After the SOS Brigade was founded, the literary club room, obviously only adorned by a long table, metal chairs, and bookshelves, began accumulating a growing number of items. I don't know where Haruhi got all this stuff from, but a portable garment rack sat in the corner of the room along with an electric kettle, teapot, and enough teacups for everyone. The room also had a stereo system without a CD player, a single compartment fridge in this day and age, a portable gas stove, an earthenware pot, nabe pot, and various eating utensils. What was all this stuff for? Was she planning on living here? Haruhi was currently sitting Indian style with her arms crossed on a desk that she had filched from some classroom. And on the desk was written a pyramid with the words Brigade Chief were written in magic marker. A computer would be nice too, she said. We're living in the information age and yet we don't have a single computer. I can't forgive them. Can't forgive whom? Our members were basically assembled. Nagoto Yuki in her usual position, engrossed in reading some hardcover with a title about some Saturn moon falling. Asahina, who really didn't need to come but obediently came anyway, was seated in a chair with nothing to do. Haruhi leaped off the desk and smiled in my direction, giving me a really ominous feeling. So, let's go scrounge one up, Haruhi said, this looking like a deer hunter going off to a hunting range. Scrounge up a computer? From where? Are you planning on raiding an electronics store? Of course not. There's a much closer source. After ordering us to follow her, Haruhi led Asahina and me to our destination, the Computer Research Society, 2 doors down. I see. Hold this, she said as she handed me an instant camera. I'm going to tell you a plan, so you better stick to it. Don't mess up the timing, understood? Haruhi pulled me down and whispered her plan into my ear. Huh? That's ridiculous. It'll be fine. Fine for you, maybe. I glanced at Asahina, who was curiously looking this way, and attempted to make eye contact. It would be a good idea for you to run for it now. As I furiously blinked my eyes at her, Asahina looked at me dubiously, and after applying some kind of twisted logic, she blushed. No good. She wasn't getting the message. In the meantime, Haruhi had calmly knocked open. Oh, what? Fuck. Let me get some water. Bleh. Okay. In the meantime, Haruhi had calmly opened the door to the Computer Research Society without even knocking. Hello, we're here to take one set of computer and peripherals. The layout was similar to ours, but this clubroom was rather cramped. A number of display monitors and computer towers were on the uniformly spaced tables. The low whirling of cooling fans resonated throughout the room. The 4 male students, who had been clattering away on their keyboards, turned their attention to Haruhi, standing in their doorway on some kind of mission. Who's in charge? Haruhi said, rather haughtily with a smile on her face. One of them stood in response. That would be me. Do you need something? I already told you what I need. I only need one, so just give me a computer. Fucking Haruhi. Just remembering this. The Computer Research Society president, an unnamed upperclassman, senpai, had an expression on his face that plainly asked, "What is she talking about?" as he shook his head. "No way. School funding wasn't enough to cover the cost, so we had to save up our own money before we were able to buy these just recently. We aren't blessed with enough equipment to just hand some out to whoever asks for them." "Ah, one can't hurt. You've got so many." "Now look here. Wait. Who are you people?" "The SOS Brigade Chief, Suzumiya Haruhi, and these two are subordinates, number 1 and number 2. You didn't have to call us subordinates. I ordered in the name of the SOS Brigade. Stop your grumbling and hand one over." "I don't know who you people are, but no means no. Buy one yourself." "In that case, I have my own ideas about that." Haruhi's eyes shone with audacity. Not a good sign. Pushing Asahina, who had been spacing out nearby, in front of her, Haruhi approached the president, and just as we realized that she had grabbed the president's arm, she pressed his palm onto Asahina's breast with lightning speed. "Ah, no!" Click. With 2 varying screens playing in the background, I clicked the shutter on the instant camera. As she held Asahina down, who was trying to escape, Haruhi used her right hand to direct the president's hand to firmly groping the little girl's breasts. Or breasts, whatever. "Kyon, take another shot." I reluctantly pressed the shutter button. "Forgive me, Asahina and unnamed president." The president finally broke free of Haruhi's grip and leapt right away when Haruhi was about to thrust his hand into Asahina's skirt. "What are you doing?" Haruhi gracefully waved her finger in front of the president's bright red face. "Tisk, tisk, tisk. I got pictures of your sexual harassment now. If you don't want me to spread these pictures around school, hand over your computer. Or a computer." "That's ridiculous," the president furiously objected. "I feel for you." "You forced me to do it. I'm innocent." "And how many people do you think would believe you?" I looked towards Asahina to find her unmoving, sprawled on the floor. She moved beyond shock and into a coma. Meanwhile, the president continued to protest. "All the members here are witnesses. It was against my will." The 3 computer members, who had been petrified with their jaws hanging open, apparently regained their senses and nodded. "That's right. It wasn't the president's fault." However, such weak reciting in unison wasn't going to work on Haruhi. I'll say that the whole club gang raped her. Let me read that again. However, such a weak reciting in unison wasn't going to work on Haruhi. I'll say the whole club gang raped her. Everyone in the room, including Asahina and myself, turned pale. That's going too far. Suzumiya! Haruhi lightly kicked away Asahina's arms, who were clinging to her leg, and haughtily puffed out her chest. "What will it be? Are you going to hand it over or not?" The president's face, which had gone from red to white, now became ashen. He was finally defeated. Take whichever one you want." The president collapsed in his chair. The other members ran over. "Prez, hang in there. Get a hold of yourself." His head was hung like a marionette whose strings had been cut. I may have been an accomplice in this travesty, but I couldn't help but feel sorry for him. "Which one's the newest model?" She was as cool-headed as ever. "Why do I have to tell you that?" Haruhi responded by pointing to the camera in my hand. "Damn it, that one." Haruhi took a look at the tower computer's brand and model number, and took a slip of paper out from her skirt pocket. "I stopped by the computer shop yesterday and had an employee show me all the newest models. This wasn't one of them. Her attention to detail was scaring me." Haruhi circled the table, checking every computer before pointing to one of them. "Give me this one." Hold on, we just bought that last month. Camera, camera. Take it, you thief. We are indeed thieves. I cannot deny it. There was no end to Haruhi's demands. After disconnecting all the cables, she ordered that the monitor and every little thing be moved to the literary club and reconnected. She even had them run a LAN cable between our rooms so we can access the internet and connect through the school's network or domain on top of that. All this was done by the Computer Society members. This is what you call extortion. Asahina. Having been rendered helpless during this whole event, I turned to the petite girl curled up in a fetal position with her hands over her face. Let's go back for now. I helped the sobbing Asahina up. Haruhi could have just let her own breasts be groped. She doesn't give a damn about changing in front of guys. She probably wouldn't have a problem with that. As I tried to comfort Asahina, still crying, I wondered what the computer was going to be used for. Well, I would find out soon enough. The launch of the SOS Brigade website. Apparently, that's what Haruhi wanted to do. So who's going to make it? The website or whatever. You. That was Haruhi's response. You got free time, don't you? Do it. I have to find more members. The computer was on the desk with the brigade chief pyramid. Haruhi was moving the mouse around and surfing the web. Have it finished in a day or two. We can't participate in any activities until the site's up. What was her requirement for that? Nagato Yuki reading her book and Asahina Mikuru sprawled on the table next to her, shoulders trembling, acted like it had nothing to do with this. It would appear that the only one listening to Haruhi's talking was me. And since I was the only one who heard Haruhi's order, I had to follow through on it. At least, that's what Haruhi thought, no doubt about it. Easy for you to say. At least that's what I said, but I was actually pretty psyched. No, it's not like I'd gotten used to following Haruhi's orders. I was psyched about making the website. I've never made one before. It sounded pretty fun, right? And that was that. The next day would be the first chapter of my epic struggle to make a website. That being said, it wasn't much of a struggle at all. The Computer Research Society, living up to its name, had already installed most of the necessary programs. All I had to do was open up a template and do a bit of copy and pasting. The problem was what to put on the site. After all, I still had no idea what kind of activities the SOS Brigade was involved in. I couldn't possibly write about club activities that didn't exist yet. So after pasting an image saying "Welcome to the SOS Brigade's website" on the top page, my fingers stopped moving. I could hear the chants of "Hurry up and make it!" essentially ringing through my ears, which is why I was sitting there with the mouse in my hand as I ate my lunch. Nagato, do you have anything you want to put on the site? I tried asking Nagato Yuki, who sat reading in our room even during lunchtime. Nothing. She didn't even look up. Not that I cared, but she does go to class, right? I returned my attention from Nagato Yuki to the 17-inch monitor and went back to thinking. There's another problem. Isn't it a bad idea to use a school domain address for the website of a questionable brigade that holds lower status than a school-approved student association? What they don't know can't hurt them. That was Haruhi's defense. If they find out about it, just drop the site. With these things, whoever takes action wins. I was a bit envious of her optimistic attitude. I had added a free CGI access counter, put up a text message address, still too early for a message board, and uploaded the website consisting of a top page alone with no actual content. This should be good enough. After confirming that the page was loading properly on the net, I closed all the programs and shut down the computer. Then, as I was about to stretch myself out, I noticed Nagato Yuki standing behind me and jumped out of the chair. It's like you couldn't even sense her presence. Before I knew it, Nagato Yuki was standing behind me with a pale face that resembled a no mask. With a poker face that you find yourself hard-pressed to match, she stared at me with the way one could stare at an eye chart. Here, she held out a thick book. Out of reflex, I took it. Sure was heavy. Looking at the cover, I saw it was the sci-fi book Nagato had been reading a few days ago. I'll lend you this. And with that brief statement, Nagato left the room before I even had time to refuse. What was the point in lending me such a thick book? Left alone in the classroom, I could hear the bell signaling the approaching end of lunch break. It appeared that I was surrounded by people who couldn't care less about what I thought. Upon returning to the classroom with the hardcover book, I was greeted by the point of a mechanical pencil poking me in the back. Well, is the site done? Haruhi was sprawled on her desk with a sullen look on her face. She was furiously writing away about who knows what on a torn-out sheet of notebook paper. I feigned casualness to avoid the attention of fellow classmates. It's done, sure, but it's an empty site that will probably piss off visitors. That's good enough for now. We just need an email address. Would a text message address work then? That won't do. It would be able to handle the flood of emails. Why would a newly created email address get flooded with emails? That's a secret. And then she got that disturbing smile on her face again. It gave me the creeps. You'll find out after school. From now, it's top secret. I'd rather you keep it top secret forever. Haruhi was nowhere to be seen during the following period. One could hope that she had quietly gone home, but that was frankly impossible. Merely a prelude to her evil doings. After school, I still had my misgivings about what we were doing. So why is it that my legs are taking me towards the clubroom? As I was making such metaphysical observations, I found myself in front of the door. Sup? Nagato Yuki was already there, naturally, with Asahina Mikuru, sitting in a chair with her hands together. I'm not one to talk, but do these two really get bored? Are these two really that bored? Asahina greeted me with what was obviously an expression of relief upon my entrance. I guess being stuck in a room alone with Nagato was stressful. You still came today after what happened yesterday? Where's Suzumiya? Asked Asahina. Beats me. She was already gone during 6th period. Perhaps she's off extorting more equipment. Will I be forced to do something like yesterday again? Seeing that her brow was creased with worry, I tried to sound as kind as possible. Don't worry. Next time she tries to force you into something like that, I'll do everything I can to prevent it. She can use her own body for that stuff. It'll be a cinch for Suzumiya to pull off. Thank you. The sight of her bowing her head with a shy smile on her face was so adorable that I wanted to throw my arms around her. I didn't, though. I'm counting on you, then. You can count on me. My guarantee might have meant something if it hadn't fallen apart like a baseless theory, a house of cards, or an atom of hydrogen inside the sun. Before even 5 minutes have passed, I'm worthless. Hey, Haruhi said as she entered the room. My eyes were drawn to the large paper bags in both of her hands. Took a little longer than I expected. Sorry about that. It's safe to assume that whenever Haruhi is in a good mood, she's plotting some scheme that involves inconveniencing other people. Haruhi set the paper bags on the floor and turned to lock the door. Asahina reflexively jumped at the sound. What are you planning on doing this time, Suzumiya? Just so you know, I refuse to do any more burglary or blackmail, I said. What are you talking about? I'd never do anything like that. They explained about the computer on the desk. Obtained using peaceful measures. Forget that. Here, look at this. Haruhi removed a stack of printer paper from one of the paper bags. There was some kind of writing printed on the paper. These are flyers I made to spread the name of the SOS Brigade. I snuck into the copy room and printed out 200 copies. He passed the flyers out to us. So that's what she was doing when she skipped class, huh? Pretty amazing nobody caught her. I didn't particularly want to look at the flyer, but for the time being, I took it and gave it a glance. Proclamation of the SOS Brigade's founding principles. We members of the SOS Brigade are searching for the mysteries of the world. People who have experienced something mysterious in the past, people who have run into something mysterious recently, and people who plan on a mysterious experience in the near future should come see us. We will solve your problem on the spot, guaranteed. However, a normal mystery will not do. It has to be a mystery that wows us. Make note of that. You can contact us at blah 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 blah. I thought I was starting to understand the purpose of this brigade. It would appear that Haruhi wanted to immerse herself in the worlds of sci-fi, fantasy, and horror. Let's go past them out now. We're at the front gate. There should be plenty of students heading home right now. Oh, really? Was my response as I moved to pick up the paper bag before Haruhi stopped me. Oh, you don't need to come. Mikuru's the one who's coming with me. What? Asahina, holding the half sheet of paper in her hands and reading its poorly written contents, tilted her head. Haruhi rummaged through the other paper bag and vigorously pulled an item out. Ta-da! Looking as triumphant as an Olympic gold medalist, Haruhi pulled out what at first appeared to be a piece of black cloth. But oh no! Once Haruhi had finished removing objects from her bottomless bag of holding, I realized why Haruhi had designated Asahina for the task and I began praying for her. May your soul rest in peace. A black leotard, fishnet stockings. We need another BGM for this. That's a good one. Okay. Black leotard, fishnet stockings, attachable ears, and a bow tie along with white collar cuffs and tail. It looked undeniably like a bunny girl outfit. What's this for? That was Asahina, sounding quite frightened. Can't you tell? Bunny girl. That was Haruhi, sounding quite calm. You can't mean for me to wear... Of course. There's one for me too. I can't wear something like that. Now don't worry, the size should be right. That's not what I meant. Are we going to wear those while passing out the flyers at the school gate? Isn't that obvious? I don't want to. Shut up. Crap. She had that flinty look in her eyes. He leapt onto Asahina the way a lioness would attack a stray gazelle, and began removing the sailor uniform from the struggling girl. No! Stop resisting! Making outrageous demands, Haruhi pinned down Asahina. She easily pulled off her top and moved her fingers to the hook of the skirt, which is when I thought I'd better stop this and move towards them, only to meet Asahina's eyes. Don't look! Upon hearing that cry, I did an about-face and ran to the door. Damn, it was locked. And wasted time rattling and turning the knob before I finally unlocked the door and tumbled outside. And based on the quick side glance during all this, Nakoto Yuki was reading her book as though nothing was happening. Don't you have anything to say about this? As I leaned against the closed door, I could hear, no, at least let me undress myself. No! Pitiable screams from Asahina. Come on, take it all off. You should have listened to me to begin with. And such triumphant battle cries from Haruhi. Meh, I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to know what's going on in there naturally. Sometime later, I received a signal. You can come in now. BGM. That's a good one. Yeah. When I hesitantly returned to the room, I was met by the sight of two unbelievably perfect bunny girls. Haruhi and Asahina both looked amazing. Low cut in front with an open back, high cut on the bottom with fishnet stockings wrapped around the legs. The bunny ears swinging on top of their heads, and white collars and cuffs scored bonus points. Not that I knew what the points were for. The combination of Haruhi, who has a slender build yet with curves, and Asahina, who looks like small yet sticks out in all the right places, was too much for my eyes. As I pondered if I should say it looks good on you to the sobbing Asahina, Haruhi spoke. What do you think? What do I think? I can only think that your mental capabilities are suspect. This will be perfect for attracting attention. Most of the people walking by will take our flyers if we're dressed like this, right? Well, yeah. Two people dressed in costumes standing around the school are bound to attract attention. What about Nagoto? I could only buy two of them. I got the full set, so it was expensive. Where do they sell this stuff? Oh, I ordered it online. I see. I was wondering why I didn't have to look down as much as usual when I noticed that she was... what? I was wondering why I didn't have to look down as much as usual when I noticed that she was even careful enough to put on high heels. He grabbed the bag containing the flyers. Let's go, Mikuru! Asahina, with her arms crossed over her chest, looked towards me for salvation. I could only stare at her in her bunny outfit. Sorry, to be honest, I can't get enough of that outfit. Asahina fussed like a child as she clung to the table, but being no match for Haruhi's ridiculous strength, she and her soft cries were swiftly dragged off, and the two bunny girls disappeared from the room. I sank into my chair with an overwhelming feeling of guilt. There. Nagoto Yuki pointed at the floor. Upon looking, I found two sailor uniforms lying in a scattered heap. And was that a bra? The short-haired, bespectacled girl remained silent as her fingers shifted to the garment rack before she wordlessly went back to reading as though her job was finished. You do it, her gesture said. Sighing, I picked up the girls' uniforms. The girls, plural, uniforms and hung them on the garment rack. Yeah, I could still feel the warmth from their body heat. 30 minutes later, a worn-out Asahina returned. Whoa, her eyes are red like a real bunny's. This isn't the time to be saying that. I quickly stood and gave her my chair. And just like before, Asahina collapsed onto the table, her finely shaped shoulder blades trembling. Apparently, she didn't even have the energy to get changed. Her back was half exposed, making it difficult for my eyes. I removed my blazer and covered her quivering, pale back. The uncontrollably sobbing girl, the unresponsive bookworm, and the bewildered, castrated bastard, me, spent the following period of time silently in the club room with a record-setting, strained atmosphere. In the distance, I could hear the lousy horns of the brass band. Lousy? It is lousy. The lousy horns of the brass band and indiscernible yelling of the baseball team. It was around when I started thinking about such insignificant things as what dinner would be tonight when Haruhi made her heroic return. The first thing out of her mouth was, I'm pissed. What's with those stupid teachers? They had to go and get in my way. She was venting while in her bunny outfit. I had a general idea of what happened, but I asked anyway. Was there some kind of a problem? Way beyond that. We had even distributed half the flyers when the teachers came running over and told us to stop. Who do they think they are? You know, if two bunny girls start handing out flyers at the front gate, people who aren't even teachers are going to come running to stop you. Mikuru even started sobbing. I was dragged to the student guidance office. Even that handball moron Okabe was brought in. The guidance counselor and Okabe, the homeroom teacher, probably had a hard time finding where to put their eyes. Anyway, I'm pissed. That's enough for today. Dismissed. Haruhi tore the bunny ears from her head and threw them on the floor and began removing the bunny outfit. I quickly ran out of the room. How long are you going to keep crying? Come on, get changed already. I leaned against the hallway wall as I waited for them to finish changing. It's not that Haruhi's an exhibitionist. She probably just had no idea that what effect their scantily clad bodies had on males. Similarly, she didn't choose the bunny girl costume for its sensuality. She simply thought it would attract attention. She'll never be able to have a serious relationship. I really wish she'd start being concerned about guys who may be watching, or at the very least, me. All the stress. This BGM is not so good. These are no more serious BGMs. I guess we'll go to the beginning again. Okay. Okay, I'll read that part again. I really wish... Where are we? Yeah. I really wish she'd start being concerned about guys who may be watching, or at the very least me. All the stress was wearing me down. I had to hope for some kind of involvement, some kind of improvement. If only for Asahina's sake. In any case, Nagato really should have said something. Asahina eventually exited the room, staggering and stumbling, looking like a student who had just failed all of her tests to get into college for the second year in a row. Not knowing what to say, I remained silent. Kyon... She sounded like a ghost returning from a fancy cruise ship that had sunk deep into the ocean. If I become ruined for marriage, will you take me? What should I say? And wait, you're gonna call me by that name too? God damn it. Asahina, moving like a robot out of gas, returned my blazer to me. For the moment, I perversely hoped that she would jump into my arms and start sobbing. But she walked off with an expression like rotten green vegetables. Kind of a pity. The next day, Asahina didn't come to school. The name Suzumiya Haruhi had already been floating around school, but thanks to the bunny mess, her name had transcended mere notoriety into the realm of common knowledge for the entire school body, or student body. That was fine with me. I couldn't care less if the whole school knew about Haruhi's eccentric behavior. The problems were that the name Asahina Mikuru had become spreading in association with hers, and the fact that I felt as though some people around me were giving me strange looks. Man, Kyon, you finally became one of Suzumiya's merry friends, Taniguchi said with an irritatingly sympathetic tone during break. I would never have expected Suzumiya to make friends. I guess the world is a crazy place after all. Shove it. Seriously, I was so surprised yesterday. I was going home when I saw bunny girls standing at the front gate. Didn't have time to wonder if I was dreaming. It made me question if I was losing my sanity. That was Taniguchi. He was waving a familiar piece of paper around. What is this SOS Brigade? What are you doing it? Ask Haruhi. I have no idea. Don't want to know either. Even if I did know, I probably wouldn't want to put it into words, or put words into it, whatever. Put words to it. It says to tell you about mysteries. What exactly does that mean? I really don't understand this part about how a normal mystery won't do. Even Asakura Ryoko came over for a bit. Well, it looks like you people are having fun. But it would be best if you didn't violate moral sensibilities. That stunt went a bit too far. I should have skipped school too. Haruhi was still mad. Not just about the fact that she was interrupted during flyer distribution, but about the fact that a day had passed without a single email arriving at the SOS Brigade address. I was expecting to get one or two prank emails, but it looked like the world had more common sense than I thought. I'm positive that was because everyone realized that getting involved with Haruhi would only bring trouble. Haruhi glared at the empty inbox with a wrinkled brow as she moved the optical mouse around. Why haven't we gotten a single email? It's been one day. Maybe there are people with incredible tales of supernatural happenings, but they don't want to tell such a dubious, untrustworthy brigade. I said that to appease her. In reality, do you know of any mysterious events? Yes, I do. Oh, that's wonderful. Please tell me about it. I understand. It's like... as if that could ever happen. Listen up, Haruhi. That stuff only happens in comic books or fiction. Reality is far more severe and serious. This little prefectural high school in some random corner of Japan doesn't have any ongoing conspiracies involving the end of the world. There isn't any non-humans wandering around quiet residential areas. There isn't a spaceship buried in the hill behind the school. None of this will ever happen. Not a single one of them. You understand, right? The truth is that you actually understand. Right? What? The truth is that you actually understand, right? It's just that you have nowhere to vent the frustrations of youth, and that restlessness is leading you down a different path. Snap out of it already. How about you go find some handsome guy and walk home from school together, or go see a movie together on Sundays, and join some sport club and knock yourself out. And they'll make you a regular member in a flash. At least that's what I would have liked to tell her, but I got the feeling that I'd be eating Haruhi's fist before about 5 lines, or after about 5 lines, whatever. So I refrained. Is Mikuru absent today? She might not ever come back, the poor thing. I hope she wasn't traumatized from the ordeal. I even brought a new outfit for her. Wear it yourself. And of course I'm going to wear it too. But it's no fun when Mikuru isn't here. Following precedents, Nagato Yuki and her virtually non-existent presence had become one with the table. There was no reason to be so particular about Asahina. He could use Nagato as her dress-up doll, or I guess that's not exactly better. But I got the feeling that God damn it, my brain. But I got the feeling that unlike the crybaby Asahina, Nagato would calmly put on that bunny outfit as ordered. And I realized I wouldn't mind seeing that. The long-awaited transfer student had come. I was informed of this by Haruhi during the short period of time before morning homeroom. Don't you think it's amazing? One really came. Haruhi was hovering over her desk with a stellar smile like a preschooler receiving a present she had been waiting for. I didn't know where she had heard it from, but apparently the student was transferring into Class 1-9. This is a once-in-a-lifetime chance. It's unfortunate that the student isn't in our class, but still a mysterious transfer student? No doubt about it. But it's still a mysterious transfer student. How can you tell before you have even seen the student? Didn't I already tell you? The survey says that a student who transfers in halfway through the year is practically guaranteed to be mysterious. Just when, by whom, and how is that statistic derived? Here's your mystery. If any student transferring in the month of May can be considered mysterious, then you have to assume that Japan has an excess of mysterious transfer students. However, this trademark Haruhi theory did not follow common sense. Haruhi took off as soon as the first period ended, probably off to 1-9 to scout the mysterious transfer student. And right before the bell rang, Haruhi returned with a dour look on her face. Was the student mysterious? Didn't seem that mysterious, obviously. We talked for a bit, but I don't know enough to be sure yet. I'd just be pretending to be a normal student. I'd say that's the more probable scenario. It'd be a waste to reveal your true identity the day you transfer in. I'll go do some more questioning before the next break. Though, you probably startled the 919 people. Let's picture it. Haruhi, who's practically never initiated a conversation with anyone, suddenly comes into your classroom and grabs the nearest person. Which one's a transfer student? She asks. And the second someone answers, she charges in that direction. Then she probably barges into a happy cluster of friendly students getting acquainted and makes her way to the center, drawing close to the surprised transfer student. Where did you come from? Where did you come from? What's your true identity? Like a cross-examination. I thought of something. Was it a guy or a girl? Could have been disguised, but for now he looked male. Then it's a guy. Which means the SOS Brigade would finally get another male member. He would probably be forced to join no matter what he said, for the sole reason that he was a transfer student, but he might not be good-natured as Asahina and me. Would things really go so well? No matter how overbearing Haruhi is, a stronger-willed person will probably be able to resist her, right? If she assembled enough members, would she really have to make this foolish student association to save the world by overloading it with fun Suzumiya Haruhi Brigade? Official, huh? Setting aside the matter of whether or not the school would accept it, the person who would have to complete the paperwork would be 10-1 me. And I'd be stuck with the label Suzumiya Haruhi's subordinate for the next 3 years. I hadn't thought about what I'd do after graduation, but I somewhat wanted to go to college, so I hoped to avoid doing anything that would be put on my record. But as long as I was with Haruhi, that didn't seem very possible. What was I going to do? I couldn't do a thing. I should have stopped Haruhi and made her disband the SOS Brigade, even if my arms were virtually tied behind my back. Then I should have soundly lectured Haruhi and convinced her to live a normal life. Forget about aliens, time travelers, and espers. Find some random guy and put your effort into a relationship. Work out your body on some sports team. I should have forced her to spend the next 3 years as an ordinary student. If only I had. If I had a stronger sense of purpose or will to act, I wouldn't be washed away by this current called Suzumiya Haruhi and forced to swim in an ocean of idiosyncrasies. The world would have regained its dignity. We would have lived normal lives for 3 years and then graduated in a normal fashion. Maybe. The only reason I say this now is because I experienced things that were anything but normal. If you look at the flow of the story, you should have figured it out already. Where do I begin? I guess I should start around the time when the transfer student came to the club room. Chapter 3. Okay, I think chapter 2. Yeah. Think I will break there. Alright, 2 chapters. I'll work on reading this some more, so. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys later. Take care.